Today, we're kicking off a brand new series, and it's a good one. This is a real-world story about power, politics, and strategy inside an organization. We're not talking theory here. This is a blow-by-blow account of a real conflict. Let's dive in.
So, every story has to start somewhere, right? Ours starts in a meeting room. It was supposed to be, a pretty standard, collaborative meeting about data. But, as you're about to see, when you mix hard data with office politics, things almost never go the way you think they will.
Okay, let's set the scene. Our whole story really hinges on this one single meeting. On the surface, it was about data, but underneath, it was all about power. We're calling this first part the data ambush.
So meet Janita. She's our protagonist. She's pretty new to her job, less than a year in, and she's in charge of safeguarding for a group of 8 schools. Now, for the very first time, she gets her hands on data from across the entire organization. And what she finds is, well, it's pretty concerning. She sees these clear patterns showing that certain groups of students are being excluded and disciplined way more than others. Her goal is simple, totally professional: bring this data to the head teachers and start a helpful, evidence-based conversation.
Janita walks into this meeting basically betting on one idea: informational power. The logic seems solid, right? If you have important, unique data that nobody else has, that information itself gives you influence. She figures the data will just speak for itself. She's got the facts, so she's got the power. Or does she?
Well, the meeting starts. But before Janita can even open her mouth, the CEO jumps in with this. It's careful. It's a preemptive warning. And just like that, the entire feeling in the room changes from collaborative to defensive. Janita's data is already being framed not as a shared insight, but as a risky comparison.
And then, here we go, the objections start rolling in. The first head teacher, notice this, doesn't say the data's wrong. Nope. The attack is on the process. I haven't been consulted. It's such a classic move, isn't it? Shift the conversation away from the uncomfortable facts and make it about procedure.
And here he is, our other key player, Graham Stokes. His objection is just surgical. By talking about quality assurance, he's not actually questioning the data, he's questioning Janita's authority to even present it. He basically dismisses her entire report as an unhelpful distraction and shuts down the conversation before it even has a chance to begin.
And boom! It's over. Just like that. The CEO suggests pulling the report. The next item on the agenda comes up, and Janita? She's left sitting there in silence, completely baffled. She came in armed with facts, expecting a discussion. Instead, she just walked straight into a coordinated shutdown. What she doesn't realize yet is that this meeting was lost long before she even walked in the room.
So, what on earth just happened? To really understand that ambush, we have to rewind the clock and look at the 48 hours before the meeting. This is where Janita, after the fact, starts to piece together the anatomy of a really sophisticated power play.
Just look at this timeline. It's incredible. Less than 2 hours after Janita sends a report, Graham is on the phone with the CEO. And again, he's not arguing the data, he's framing it as a procedural misstep. Then, he creates a private WhatsApp group, a back channel, and starts using trigger words like league tables to get all the other head teachers worried and on his side. So by the time the meeting actually starts, he's already decided what Janita's report means for everyone else in that room.
Let's really break down Graham's moves, because honestly, it's a masterclass. First, preemptive framing. He got to the CEO, the most powerful person in the room, and defined the problem on his own terms. Second, collective narrative control. He used that informal WhatsApp group to unite his peers around a single negative story. And third, and this is the killer move, strategic withholding. He never once mentioned his real motivation. His school was facing a huge inspection, and this data looked bad for him. He made his argument about principle, not about his own personal risk.
And this really brings us to the core lesson of this whole story. It's a tale of 2 totally different strategies, and it shows exactly why just having the information is never, ever enough to actually have influence. This table just lays it out so clearly. You've got Janita sticking to the official channels, email, the meeting agenda, thinking her objective data was all she needed. And then you have Graham playing a completely different game. He's working the informal channels, that phone call, the WhatsApp group, to build his team and frame the story before anyone even had a chance to think for themselves. He got the political context, and he used it.
So here's the crucial point. This is the big takeaway. Power isn't about having the best information or the most facts. It's about controlling the narrative. It's about controlling what that information means to the people who make the decisions. Graham understood that. And Janita, well, she learned it the hard way.
But this story is not over. Not by a long shot. After the meeting, a couple of sympathetic colleagues send Janita some private messages, explaining Graham's real motivation, that inspection. And armed with this new intelligence, something inside her shifts. She stops being the victim of this power play, and she starts becoming a strategist.
So, Janita makes 3 very calculated moves. First, she emails Graham directly, but instead of being angry, she offers to help him, using an informal channel just like he did. Smart. Second, she reaches out to her allies to start building her own coalition. And third, she goes to the CEO to get clarity on her role and her authority. Every single one of these moves shows she's learning the rules of the game.
And guess what? Her new strategy starts getting results. Graham, maybe a little surprised by her savvy, agrees to meet one-on-one. Her allies are ready to help her strategize. The CEO also agrees to meet, but makes one thing really clear. Janita's role is about influence, not formal authority. And that right there is a huge lesson for her. She might have lost the battle, but she's finally starting to understand how to win the war.
So, Janita gets it now. She understands this is a game of power and influence. But her one-on-one meeting with Graham, the guy who just completely outplayed her, is tomorrow. And that leaves us with a massive question for next time. How do you challenge a master player on his own terms? We're going to find out in part 2.